Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Tuesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers get the preseason debuts for LeBron James and Austin Reaves. How'd they look? We'll tell you next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. It's always going to be free and never behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube, where you can go hang out with 21,000 subscribers to the channel, growing fast, and everybody getting ready for the regular season, which is right around the corner. We got 4 more preseason games left to play after Monday night's win, 129-126 over the Nets in Vegas. Andy, we always say the results don't matter unless the Lakers win, in which case they're vitally important. But lots to get into. We'll talk about the way the starting lineup looked. It was Taurean Prince in the starting lineup on Monday. Jarred Vanderbilt actually sat out the game with heel soreness. Lakers being careful there, obviously. And so Prince gets the start. We'll tell you what that looked like because, Andy, that is a potential regular season starting lineup to get into. But before that, we got to see LeBron James and Austin Reaves, both of whom sat out on Saturday against the Warriors. And I thought both of those guys, Andy, looked just fine. Thank you.
Yeah, they both looked really good. LeBron, 10 points on 3 of 8 shooting. Hit 3 of his 4 free throws, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, a lot of control of the game, steal and a block. And he played 17 first half minutes, and it felt like he was actually felt like they were trying to get him out there with some different floor combinations, get him a look with several different players, because there's always a chance that he doesn't play Wednesday and or Friday. I'd be very surprised if he played in both of those games.
I would be shocked.
So I'm sure Darvin was trying to get him with as many different combinations as he could in that first half before he ends up playing whenever that game is.
Right. And it's less to me. I mean, tell me if you agree about stuff like this. Like with LeBron, obviously he's not going to play in as many games. He's not going to get as many minutes in the preseason, and nor should he. But when you talk about looking for different combinations and seeing that, to me, it's as much, and obviously they practice together, but it's different in the game. It's as much about letting guys get used to playing with him and what it's like in a real game against real opponents when LeBron is on your side, as it is more even than LeBron getting used to his opponents or to his teammates. Because I feel like LeBron can kind of quickly adjust to all those guys. There's a lot of, I think, learning how to play with LeBron, too, and how to let him maximize what you do.
Yeah, I think the balance is more towards learning how to play with LeBron, just because anytime you play with somebody new that has the ball more often than most likely you will, at least when we think about any of these new players coming in, none of them stand a chance to having the ball as close to.
That's essentially what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Right. But I will say this, though, as far as for somebody like LeBron, who becomes extremely cognizant and hyper aware of, the favorite spots of everybody on the floor, where they like to get fed, how they like to get fed. I do think that, there is some balance that, LeBron is getting used to these guys as well. Just building a shorthand for all of them. The pendulum may swing more towards benefiting the other guys, but I don't think that it's without any.
Oh, sure.
Tangible benefit
it's something that I think about a lot. I was curious because we never really talked about that, especially in the context of the preseason. I was just curious your thought.
No, I think it matters for LeBron as well. Otherwise, you wouldn't play him with as many guys. I mean,
but I'm not saying it doesn't matter for him at all. I'm just saying I think a lot of times we forget that. These other guys, there's something to learning how to maximize what you do next to him. But yeah, I thought it was an easy 17 minutes where he looked like LeBron. I mean, it was, and that's all you really need is, okay, he's moving well, definitely more explosive than he was at the end of the season in the playoffs last year with that foot problem. I don't think there was any question about that.
Yeah, he did not look like a guy that had been recently dealing with a torn foot tendon. Austin Reaves, you expected him to be fairly in rhythm just because he spent this entire offseason playing basketball with Team USA, and dude lives in the gym anyway when he's not on a golf course or at Top Golf or someplace like that with D'Angelo Russell hitting insane trick shots.
If you missed this, go to press pause and go to whatever your preferred social media is. It's Austin Reaves taking a left-handed club.
Yeah, he's taking D'Angelo Russell's club, you assume.
Right. Flipping around a left-handed club to hit it right-handed and just raking, whatever that iron was. It's bonkers.
Yeah, it's both an insane shot, but also it's crazy to think about. You show up to Top Golf or wherever they were in Vegas, because I'm sure this is something they were doing, screwing around before this preseason game. You just show up to one of these Top Golf type places to hit around a little bit with your buddies, have a couple beers, and at the bench next to you is Austin Reaves and D'Angelo Russell just hanging out and screwing around. That's got to be pretty surreal too. And then you watch him going my God, Reaves really is as good as he claims to be.
I mean, that shot was absurd. So kudos to him for that. But yeah, he came out, hit his first three. He finished, what was it? It was
18 points, 5 of 7 from
6 from 3.
Yeah.
5 of 7 from the field, like you say. A couple assists, couple rebounds. Russell and Reaves together were 8 of 11 from 3. You add in Taurean Prince with his start, and now you're talking 11 of 16 from 3-point range. Fair to say that starting lineup, at least on Monday, Andy, with Taurean Prince stepping in, and this is a lineup that Darvin might end up using. It's either going to be Rui or Vanderbilt or this one with Taurean Prince. At least on Monday, dang, the shooting was exactly what you would want that to be, what you would think it would be in terms of spacing around LeBron and Anthony Davis. Okay, that's what it's supposed to look like. That's the argument for starting Taurean Prince.
Sure, and you throw in Rui Hachimura, who had 19 off the bench, 8 of 14 from the field, but also hit 2 threes as well. Gabe Vincent struggled from behind the arc, 2 of 7, but he at least is a credible, if not phenomenal, 3-point shooter over his career. And, Darvin talked after the game about how they want to be more of a true inside-out basketball team, where, he doesn't want them going crazy from behind the arc. He doesn't envision them being a 3-point team as part of their identity.
Are you saying the 55 3-pointers that they took on Monday might be on the high end for the season?
I mean, that's high for a lot of teams.
Is that what you're getting at? That maybe we shouldn't expect 55 every night?
No, but I do think that I think he wants them, as he should, to take more threes than they did last year, because this team on paper, and I think actually in reality, has more business taking threes at a higher volume. And, I think Darvin at the end of the day wants them to maintain, their focus at attacking the rim, getting in transition, because they have too many guys who can bully their way around the basket. But he did say he wants them being more prolific from distance. And look, this team is just built better to do it.
Yeah. And let's talk about that, because again, when you start to figure out, well, what starting lineup do you go with? If that is a major goal for the team, then the one that they put out there on Monday is the right way to go. Is that enough? Is that 3-point identity enough to make this the starting lineup? Talk about that next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Jace. And if the past few years with the pandemic, various natural disasters, unforeseen emergencies have taught us anything, it's that you got to expect the unexpected. Everyone should feel empowered to take care of themselves, their loved ones, when it seems like the world has just absolutely gone sideways. And that's why Jace Medical offers the Jace case. The Jace case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use, gives you peace of mind. So you're not just hoping that you have access to medication in the event of an emergency. Jace Medical makes sure you have the medication in hand. Jace Medical's simple. They handle everything from the online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery, ongoing consultation and care, and you don't get caught unprepared with the Jace case. And you can save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jace Medical, plus an additional $20 off by using the code LOCKEDON at the checkout on jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com, promo code LOCKEDON.
Part of the reason the Lakers haven't been necessarily a prolific three-point shooting team over the last couple of seasons, as Darvin was alluding to, they didn't want them shooting a ton of threes. Like that was not when they were at their best. Quite frankly, when the volume started to go up, every once in a while you'd have a good game, but like they just weren't very good at it. And so don't overdo it. Now you do have a roster. And again, go through the starting lineup the way it was laid out on Monday. Reaves was 4 of 6, Russell 4 of 5, Prince 3 of 5. Obviously, Andy, that is a percentage. They're not going to shoot 11 of 16 or 11 of 16 in every game. That's not going to work. It's not going to happen. But those are 3 really credible 3-point shooters. LeBron is, if things go well, a low to mid 30s 3-point shooter. And then, Davis took 3 on Monday, as he did on in the opener against Golden State. He made 2. Monday he made 1. But you're basically, if you get that from those other guys in real floor spacers, you don't need Anthony Davis to step out taking threes. There'll be enough room for him to operate anywhere he wants on the floor at any level of the floor, but not needing to stretch all the way out to 3 unless happen to be going. Like the floor spacing will be great for everyone is really what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, you would ask the question before the break about whether this should be the starting lineup. Like if 3-point shooting is a goal for this team to be better, and they have more guys who are established as being able to do it this season than last season. Is tonight indicative of the lineup they should go for? I think you can make a case for it. To me, in a lot of respects, what it comes down to is how is LeBron shooting from 3? And, what we've seen from AD in terms of confidence with the shot, them clearly looking to set up AD more often that way. Like we've seen him just popping more in these first couple preseason games than we saw, more frequently last season.
He certainly feels better for all whatever the media talk about his shot. Or he's clearly very confident in it right now.
Right. And, AD would maybe pick and pop-ish last season, to 17 feet or whatever. But certainly those type of shots, AD just wasn't popping like that. He was much more of a role guy. I think if LeBron and AD are credible, combined with what we can reasonably expect from Reaves and especially D'Lo, then I think you actually can start Vanderbilt if you want that defensive versatility, kind of guarding positions 1 through 3, maybe even 4, just because Vanderbilt offers you more optionality that way. And I think you will have enough spacing if LeBron and AD are credible.
Well, I'm gonna focus more on the LeBron aspect of that. I think the AD part of it, I don't think you're going to get the volume from Davis from 3 to make it part of the equation, but LeBron certainly would be. I mean, LeBron is going to be taking. When did he take last year? I don't remember the number.
About 7 or 8 a game last year.
He's going to be taking.
He took too many. Is the answer?
No, 100%, absolutely took too many. But I mean, LeBron is going to be taking 5 or 4 or 5 a game.
That low?
He took 7 last year, 8 the year before. Even if he chillaxes, he hasn't taken fewer than 5 a game since he got here. He's gone 6, 6, 6, 8.
I was going to say
So
4 or 5. What world are you living in, son?
I don't know. He's playing one where his minutes are down in the way that everybody wants. So if you're looking at 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever a night from him, yeah, I mean, if he's in the mid 30s, it really is kind of a fascinating choice that Darvin has, because you are getting that defense and rebounding, and even as much, I mean, Taurean Prince, there was a play in the first quarter, I think it was, where LeBron is finishing in the bucket and he gets fouled, and it was a no basket for Prince, but Prince was right behind to finish. Like you replicate a lot of the energy, not quite Vanderbiltian. Maybe it's just because of a size difference, a little bit of an athleticism difference. But Prince brings similar, I think, hustle and energy to his minutes. But Vanderbilt is a different kind of deal. You get much more rebounding, you get more defense. Prince, you get
a different type of defense.
Yes, and I think broadly a little bit more versatile.
I think you get more optionality with Vanderbilt as a defender, but I'm just saying that because I don't consider Prince like a defensive liability.
Absolutely, and it's worth pointing that out. So that's one thing. Prince, you get some credible defense, definitely real floor spacing. A guy he's already promised, Andy, he's going to shoot over 40% this year, so that's in the books. And smart play, energy, all that kind of stuff. Rui, obviously, you get the scoring and all that kind of stuff and whatever. But I saw Monday's game as a great example of why you don't want to start Hachimura, because when he comes off the bench, presumably LeBron or AD, a lot of that time are going to be off the floor. He has much more space to operate as a scorer and as an assertive. He was assertive. Put the ball in the first bucket. I think it was a 3 for Rui on Monday. The second one was a mid-range jumper. It's like he can come out and be that guy. And it's harder to do it when you're sharing the floor with LeBron, AD, Russell, and Reaves. I don't want to turn Hachimura into a guy who stands on the perimeter and you don't get that value out of him.
Look, I've been on this train pretty much all summer that I can understand the argument for starting Rui. It's not a stupid argument. He is perhaps one of the 5 best players on this team, if that's the way you look at it. He is starting caliber on this team. If you just look at all the different options for the 5th guy, I just don't think it's the best use of him. I think you can easily get $17 million worth of Rui Hachimura with him playing off the bench. As you said, I actually think you get more utility from him as a scorer. There'll be plenty of opportunities for him to close games.
I think he will. And none of this precludes him from closing games. It just lines up more shift time for him to be a bigger focal point offensively.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is something I've been talking a lot during the offseason. I don't think starting Rui is the best use of him. And it's not because he's earned it, hasn't earned it, whatever. It's more just thinking about the best use of him, best floor combinations, best use of the other guys.
Yep.
Like that 5th guy, I don't think is somebody you should be thinking about as one of your most prolific scorers when you look at the other 4 guys who will be out there both as scorers, playmakers, and just the ball will be in the hands of LeBron, AD, D'Lo, and Reaves pretty much all the time.
You don't want to minimize it. Yeah, I agree.
Right. Totally.
Want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by Jace Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jace case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics to treat more than 50 infections. Get yours today at jacemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. So we'll talk a little bit more about the way the Lakers put out the lineups today, get into a few more players who played well, who didn't. Want to get your thoughts on Christian Wood and whether or not you think he bounced back from a tough game, to say the least, on Saturday. And then I want to save at least like 45 seconds to talk about Maxwell Lewis. So all of that next. We'll do the Lewis thing, Andy. Maxwell Lewis better not, if he plays a lot this year, things have gone horribly wrong, I think.
Or incredibly well.
Incredibly right. To where they're just he's come along faster and they're putting teams away so fast that Maxwell Lewis gets to play a lot and all of that stuff.
Let's not rule out the steamroll in the rest of the league option.
Right, Come on. 72 and 10, whatever it might be. But when we talk about rookies who seem like they're going too fast, like, good God. But, again, it's one of those deals where, like, the Lakers did not invest a first rounder. Like, okay, it's like this is a second round pick, and you want to very similar to what they did with Max Christie. They looked at a guy, they're like, you know what, if we see the tools there, probably can't, if we wait to draft him, we might not be able to get him. Holy bleep, did he show off some athleticism in this game on Monday. Flying through, like, you see even somebody did a screen grab of his jab step. Even it's like just length all over the place and jumping up and down. He's like an early candidate to be that guy in the dunk contest that literally nobody's ever heard of, but he's jumping out of the gym. It was insane.
The end of this game, which was treated as garbage time pretty much by both teams. I mean, other than, I guess, Lonnie Walker was on the floor towards the end for the Nets. It was garbage time in terms of the hierarchy of players out there, right. But both teams were playing super hard down the stretch with guys, for the Lakers, like Lewis and Hood Schifino and Colin Castleton and Alex Fudge. Like, it actually was really entertaining down the stretch of this game because it got down to the wire. You can see the athleticism in Lewis. Hood Schifino actually, I thought, was less sped up in this game 2 than game 1. Made some really nice passes in this game.
He's a very skillful point guard. I think it's funny you mentioned Hood Schifino because I was like, the contrast in the speed at which those two guys were moving. It was like Maxwell Lewis is still crazy and Hood Schifino is so controlled that, like, it's finding the right pace for Hood Schifino at the NBA level, and then obviously hitting shots.
Yeah,
but it was such a funny contrast to me to watch that.
Yeah, he was 0 in the game, but he had a few particularly, like, left-handed skip passes that were just really on target. He's not ready for a large role this season, but you can see what the Lakers liked in him. Similar to last year, you could see what the Lakers liked from Christie, regardless of whether or not you felt he was ready for a full-time rotation role or not. You could see what drew them towards him and why they drafted him.
22 minutes for Christian Wood. He had 6 rebounds, 2 steals, 10 points on 4 of 10 shooting. Missed all 3 of his threes. He was one of the only Lakers who did not get involved in the 3-point shooting barrage. Demoy Hodge, who's actually a really great 3-point shooter, also missed all 4 of his. What'd you think of Wood on game 2 versus game 1?
I thought he was better in game 2. First of all, his overall energy and activity, I thought, was much better. I think he was actually scoreless in the first half. He had, I think, 4 or 5 rebounds in the first half, but hadn't put up any points. But I thought he was much more engaged in the game. He was just moving better. I saw him putting his body on another body. If he didn't get the rebounds, so somebody else could. And then I thought something interesting in the second half. There was a period where he was out there with, like, Jackson Hayes and, like, Christie and maybe Hood Schifino and, like, a bunch of young guys. And Christian Wood was by far the most established player out there. Mm-hmm. And I tweeted out at Cam Brothers, I like leaving Christian Wood in with all these young reserves. It gives him an opportunity to be the adult in the room, which isn't exactly his reputation around the league. He'll get fed a lot, which he did get in the second half. They worked through him a lot. But there's inherent responsibilities with these lineups as well. I have no idea if that played into why he was out there or not. But I thought he was better in this game. I liked much more of what we saw from Wood. It had nothing to do with his overall line or anything like that. He seemed much more just into what was happening, moving better, and again, just better overall engagement.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was partially because I really thought he just looked pretty bad on Saturday.
Sure.
I agree it was better tonight, but what struck me is, and I think I probably haven't given this enough consideration yet. Figuring out how to use him well could be a little bit of a bigger challenge for the Lakers getting into the season, because they do, we've spent the first 20 whatever minutes of this show noting the skill of D'Angelo Russell, and you've got Austin Reaves, and those are your 3 and 4s when it comes to like the scoring pecking order. That's your starting lineup right there. And then you could put Rui Hachimura in as a starter, and now all of a sudden you've got 5 really credible starters who all of them can score. But let's say it's you bring Hachimura in off the bench. Okay, well now you've got Rui there, and you've got Wood. Like there's a lot going on there. There's a lot of people who are capable of really scoring. So how do you maximize Wood's ability to score and to be an offensive threat, particularly in the games where Davis is available? It's easier when the games where AD misses. How do you do that for those games where he's played without doing that thing that teams sometimes do where they try too hard to make something happen, whether it's a certain matchup to get a certain guy going, and keeping that balance? I actually, in thinking about watching this game tonight, it's like that could be a little trickier than I might have thought initially. And if that's the case, then they've got to do a really good job of making sure they're bringing Wood along so that he's, kind of stays with the program for that first month and a half or whatever it might be, where the looks, the minutes, whatever it might be, might not be super duper consistent.
There's a reason that Darvin has stressed the idea that we know what Christian Wood brings as a scorer, and we're excited to see it, but he needs to be buying into all facets of what we need from him. I mean, one area where I think Christian Wood can legitimately help this team beyond scoring is the defensive glass. Like, it's something he's actually very good at. Frankly, he was better than a lot of options they had last year on the defensive glass. They probably could have used him just in that space. So, and Christian Wood has talked before about being, a good passer out of the pick and roll or out of the post. And we've seen a little bit of that as well in these 2 preseason games. But the point you bring up is interesting. And I think it explains in certain respects why it's only a 2-game sample size, but Jackson Hayes on balance has been better than Wood.
Because I think, he's not a dynamic offensive player that you feed. He's somebody that finishes.
Yeah.
As long as he just keeps running around, like
he finishes, by the way, so effing fast. He had 2 dunks that he flushed that ball so quickly. I wasn't sure if it went in or missed.
Because he pops up, he gets off the floor again. I think we talked about this on Monday. Like I have no idea if he's going to be a consistently good. Like, these are 2 preseason games, and it's meaningless in that regard. And we got to, he has done this in New Orleans for a few years, where you see 4 games in a row, and you're like, dang, he's putting it together, and then 4 games later, he is taking it apart again.
That falls out of the rotation a lot. That would have been the pattern in New Orleans.
Right. In a place where they were trying really hard to make it work. It's not like they were, that draft pick that they used on Hayes was one of the cornerstone pieces of the Anthony Davis trade. They were not trying to.
There's a lottery pick. It's a top 10 pick.
Right. I mean, they weren't just like, whatever. But you like, just from this stuff, it's like at least you like, I get it. Like, I understand what attracts me when you get a guy who can, with that size, with that kind of athleticism. And again, he didn't even play on Monday. I'm not trying to pick on the guy, but I just, as a contrast, I don't understand the Cam Reddish fascination. I do now understand the interest in Hayes, but it's also, like you say, what you need him to do is so much more linear and limited. It is very JaVale McGee-like in that sense of finish at the rim, hustle, follow plays, chase down stuff. I don't know if he can do that at a high level with defensive responsibilities and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, first couple games, it's like, okay, I see it. I see what we're looking at here.
Yeah, Hayes has looked good. I mean, you and I have both been skeptical about where exactly his role would be, and to some degree, as much as a scorer of Christian Wood's caliber, if you can get him for the veterans minimum, you
just do it.
You scoop him up,
right?
But you have to figure the Lakers were at least somewhat uncertain when they brought in Christian Wood, just because if you're that certain about what Hayes is going to do, as much as Wood is the more talented scorer and in certain respects is the more talented guy as far as being prolific, he makes things, as we're talking about now, more complicated. So if you're that confident with Hayes, you might consider not bringing in Wood.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's one of those deals where everybody you bring in, Biyombo still unsigned, isn't he?
To the best of my knowledge,
yeah. Everybody, like, he's got his higher floor in terms of, like, you've got one elite skill set, but, like, he's got his own issues in terms of how you can actually use him in a game. And I think the idea is, yes, Wood has question marks too, but at least now you're banking on one of the two of those guys being able to provide you minutes. And I will say, 2 preseason games in, I feel better about the idea of Hayes needing to give them good minutes, because it's going to happen over the course of the season just because AD's going to miss games. So we'll see. Again, a reminder that today's episode is brought to you by Jace Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase the Jace case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics to treat over 50 infections. Get yours today at jacemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. Plenty more to talk about as the Lakers, I think, are playing every other day through this week. And then the preseason is going to wrap up faster, maybe not as fast as we want, but pretty quick. And regular season right around the corner. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go see the show, hang out, leave questions, leave comments, get excited. Somebody pointed out, Andy, that we have a really smart comment section, and we do, which we are super excited about, and love the additions that you guys make to that comments page. It's just a great community of Lakers fans developing there. So please keep it up, and we will see everybody on Wednesday.